Hi everyone, it's Chris with Action from Elders here. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about mindfulness today. In the current climate that we're living in, obviously everything's very uncertain, and as a species, generally we like to work with a degree of certainty and to a degree of control. So during these times, obviously, we haven't got that. Everything's been kind of thrown up in the air, and we're living in a time now where we're having to embrace a certain degree of uncertainty and going forward into the future, into the coming weeks and months. With okay, we don't really know what's going to happen next. So that can have a tendency, if I can explain a little bit about how the mind works, of throwing us into a state of, okay, panic a little bit. So the key to, I believe, the key to getting your head around a lot of this kind of stuff is actually just a degree of acceptance. Well, there's many keys in actual fact. So I'm going to go on from this to talk about breathing, to talk about mind waves, to talk about the frequency that we operate on in terms of our mind waves, okay, and how to bring those mind waves down to an acceptable level so that our minds aren't just constantly sort of running away with us and projecting us into a state of anxiety, which if the mind is left to its own devices, it will do. You've heard the expression, obviously, idle hands make the devil's work. Now, obviously, we're all in that scenario at the moment where we're all kind of, some of us are able to work from home and occupy ourselves, perhaps some not. But there is a degree of truth in the fact that if you don't have anything to occupy yourself, we're all going to come across times during this where we're going to have, blips in our patterns of thinking, whereby sometimes everything will be fairly fluid, and other times there might be a downward trajectory, and we might spiral into a little bit of uncertainty. We might spiral into a little bit of a stressed state, whereby we're trying to predict what happens next. Where are we going to be in 3 months' time? Where are we going to be in 6 months' time? Etc., etc. A lot of the time around this pattern of thought, if you think about our issues and our problems, and there are many, many different philosophers over and great thinkers, great speakers of our time that have hit upon this subject, the likes of Jiddu Krishnamurti, Shunryu Suzuki, Eckhart Tolle, to name a few. Our projection of problems and our worries generally only exists in either the future state or the past, because we have a tendency of worrying about what has been and what's come to pass in terms of our mistakes from the past, or things that we've done, or things that we should have done differently. But we also have a tendency of projecting into the future, and then our worry is about, okay, what's going to come next? When are we going to be out of this situation? You've heard people sort of say, oh, when I've paid my mortgage and, I'm in a good state and I've done this and I've done that, in 10 years' time, then I'll be great, then I'll be okay, then I'll be happy, I think one of the key factors that we're missing in this is that happiness isn't something that we can attain or attribute to something that is ahead of us. Happiness is something that lies with us right here and now. And we ourselves hold the key to tapping into that degree of happiness, or more of a point, I wouldn't necessarily call it happiness, but I think contentment is perhaps a better word. And that degree of contentment then cultivates a sense of peace, cultivates a sense of acceptance within ourselves. So we're going to go into depth a little bit over the coming videos about how to embody that in our everyday lives. So instead of trying to and getting out of this habit of, okay, where are we going to be in 6 months' time? Is the COVID-19 ban going to be lifted by then? Are we going to be out of lockdown? Are we still going to be in lockdown? And before you know it, you get all of these different thoughts that are flying around in the sense of, okay, am I going to be able to see my family then? Am I going to be able to go back to work? What about if money's tight? Blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden you can see then how from one thought you get this family tree of thoughts that extend out from every branch. And before you know it, we're all immersed in something which is quite deep and quite uncontrollable. Okay. So I think it's about bringing yourself back to basics and putting in and implementing some strategies whereby you can stop that, or not necessarily stop it, but quieten it a little bit. And I think that's the key in any meditative process, irrespective of various sources that might tell you that you can clear your thoughts straight away, instantly, that you can stop the stream of thoughts. I don't think so much it's about necessarily stopping your thoughts, because I think that if you say that there's an attainment or an achievement to doing something like that, automatically it puts a plateau there, a platform there that you have to get to. It's a little bit more relaxed than that. It's a little bit more at ease than that in that sense. It's not about attaining anything or getting to a certain point anywhere. It's actually about relaxing into it, surrendering to it a little bit, so that you're not having to achieve anything, so that you're actually able to just embrace something in that moment right there and then. And that takes a degree of awareness, which will be cultivated throughout the path. So immediately when you start to silence yourself and think about quietening your mind, you might initially kind of say, oh, okay, I'm really aware of all of these busy thoughts that are going on. I don't want you to be perturbed by that, because that's actually quite natural. And the fact that you can recognize that you've got these thoughts going on is a sense of awareness in itself. So we're going to work through, in different steps, ways of cultivating different breathing techniques and with movement, so that you can embody and see the pace of your mind start to slow down, see the pace of your breath start to slow down. And like I say, you can't stop it. I don't want to put an unrealistic expectation there, but you can quieten it a little bit. And through that quietness, all of a sudden you'll see a different quality in the state of your living, a different quality in the state of your being. And from there, you can use that as a platform to move on in the future. Thanks very much for watching. I'm Chris with Action for Elders. We'll be posting more clips over the coming weeks, so please keep an eye out on our channel. Take care for now. See you soon.